And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Nevena Vujović from Montenegro, who during her near-death experience saw her father on the other side, and today we're going to learn about that and more. Nevena, thank you for joining me and welcome.
Jeff, thanks for inviting me. I'm so excited, and thanks again.
Well, we're excited to have you. So if you don't mind, let's start on the day that you had your NDE and go from there.
Well, actually, I had a gynecological procedure. It's a kind of a routine one, and there was no reason to happen what happened, but it happened. After everything was finished, the nurse was taking me in a wheelchair to the room. And in one moment, I felt the specific kind of feeling at the bottom of my belly, which was going up and up and up. And I knew that I'm gone. And I looked her, from my left shoulder and turned my head beside and told her with a smile from ear to ear, and now I'm done. And in that moment, poof. I didn't go through any kind of tunnels. I didn't see any lights. Actually, the feeling was completely different. The feeling was like I peeked out from the top of my head, just like this. And it was complete dark. But that kind of a darkness is not unpleasant. And I saw 8 entities in a half circle, which I knew that I know, but there was the reason that they don't want to show their identity to me. The only one who did it was my father, and he did it with a smile. He smiled, and we have a same smile. And it would be stupid to say I saw it or I heard, because the eyes and ears were left in the body. So I prefer the word perceive. I perceived, it was like a kind of a telepathic communication. The consciousness is conscious. It doesn't not need the eyes to see nor ears to hear. So he told me that everything is all right. Everything is going to be okay. That I'm okay. And he was kind of, I was going through a very difficult time in my life. Actually, it was the one of 3 hardest periods of my life. And honestly, I wanted to go. But in one moment, I heard a voice, and I remember it came from my right side, and it was at the same time gentle and authoritative, and just said, "It's not your time. You have to go back." Full stop. And the feeling was like 100 megatons pushed me in through the same hall, into the top of my head. And after that, because I was laying down, I was put myself in a standing position like that, like from that movie, Exorcist, poof. And I started to swear a little bit. And I said, "No, damn, they got me back. I wanted to stay and they got me back. It's not fair. I wanted to go. And in that moment, I saw a lot of, I think that there was 5 or 6 doctors and 10 other people, nurses, and I saw a guy which was completely messed with blood, with handcuffs, you know, which are bloodly completely. And they were looking at me with eyes wide open. The only one who knew that something, should I say, mystical and unusual happened was the nurse who was taking me in the wheelchair. She was the only one who was calmed down. And she had a little smile on her face. I'll never forget her face. In that moment, I saw that they were preparing all the medical machines and stuff, you know, the defibrillator to shock me to, you know, because my heart stopped and everything stopped. So, and they were so confused because I got back in that way. And that's the second one. The first experience was, I was in a business trip with my colleague. I was working for a trading company and we went to Niš. It's a town in Serbia. And in that time, I had a kidney stone. And when it moves, it's very painful. And fortunately, that night, it started to move, and I was in such a pain, and he took me to emergency. And they gave me some shots and some medicines, yeah, but it didn't work. And after 2 hours, when they saw that they didn't do anything, that I'm in such a pain, they transferred me to urology clinic. And all the time, my colleague was with me. And after that, they asked me what kind of injections they gave me, what kind of medicines. I told them that. And they said, okay, we're going to give you something else. They looked me with ultrasound and saw that it's a big mass in my kidney and needed to give me something else. And they gave me, and it was okay. I was speaking with the doctor for a few minutes, and I told him, okay, I feel good, okay. I'm okay. You know, tomorrow morning I'm flying back home, so I would like to spend the night in the hotel. I don't want to stay in the hospital because I really feel okay. He was, he wasn't so sure, but you know, I'm a grown person. I was 22 or 3 or something like that. And he said, okay, if you want to go, go. But if you feel anything that is not okay, please come. I'll be here whole night. It's my shift. Then I said, okay. And me and my colleague went. We went in the elevator. And when we went in, because I like medicine, I wanted to study medicine. I wanted to be a doctor. And I read a lot of books. Some strange feelings started to happen in my ears, and I knew that it was a kind of allergic reaction. It's called anaphylactic shock. Usually it happens right away when you get something what can, you know, provide it. But it happened a little bit later. And in that moment, with the last atom of my energy, I took my colleague for his shoulder, I grabbed him and told him, go back immediately, and everything stops. In one moment, I started to hear them speaking, and I saw the whole crew from the ceiling. But in that moment, I thought, oh my God, what kind of drug they gave me. I don't want to look at this. I'm going to close my eyes. I don't want to look at this. But I continued to hear them speaking, and the doctor was asking for adrenaline and for something called urbazon. After some time, I came back. And it was almost the same scene like the first time. I told you it was incredible. They were looking at me with the eyes wide open, and they were confused. And the doctor was holding my hand, and he was kissing my hand, and he told me that he thought that they lost me. And the guy was with the defibrillator right on my right side, ready to shock me. And I just came back, and I was laughing and speaking with them and said, why are you so confused? And everything is okay. I'm okay. What happened? And the doctor who came from the outside asked my doctor, hey, is this really happening? Is this possible? After a lot of years long, I understood why he asked that question. So briefly, that's the main point.
Nevena, thank you for sharing your experiences. During both of your NDEs, were you pronounced dead by the medical staff?
No, they had no time to do it because I got back so quickly. I had no feeling of this kind of linear time. I thought that it lasted much, much, much longer than it did. In here, it was a few seconds in the second one, which I told you first. I thought that it lasted few hours, but it lasted only maybe a minute or two, not more. But we live in Balkan. In here, the things are a little bit different than in Western world. So I was trying to speak about these experiences with the doctors, but they are completely shocked to those kind of informations. No, they just don't want to talk about it.
When you perceived your father, did he look the age that he was when he died, or a different age?
I only saw they were dressed like in Greek togas. It's a special kind of wardrobe from those times. And nobody showed me their face except my father. And no, he didn't look like old man. He was 72 when he went home. But no, he looked like he was in his early 30s, maybe late 20s, early 30s. Because when he smiled, I saw his real feet, and I know it's that part of his life approximately.
If you had to guess, who do you think those other beings were?
Oof, very good question, but I don't have answer to that. The only thing I know that I know them very well, and that we spent ages and ages together. It's a kind of a my soul group, should I say like that. And in interesting detail is that I was born on August the 27th, and my father was born on August 28th. So I was a living present for his birthday.
You obviously were upset when you came back the second time. Did you
Oh, yeah.
did you stay angry for a while? For days or weeks?
Ooh, it took me about 2 years to say to myself, okay, Nevena, this is definitely not your time yet. There is some kind of purpose that you need to fulfill. And my life started to go in completely different direction. And then I got back to my childhood because none of my mystical experiences started in that time. It started much, much earlier. When I was 5 years old, my mother had a terrible car accident. A bus crashed her car, and my older sister was in the car. At that moment, it was really early in the morning. It was before 6 o'clock in the morning, our time. And I was sleeping. I was a little kid, and I overslept in living room, and they didn't want to put me to my room. Just put a blanket over me and let me sleep there. And when I woke up, I looked my father straight into his eyes and asked, "Dad, where's mom? What happened to her?" And his eyes just went wide open, because it would be normal for a 5-year-old kid to ask, "Hey, Dad, good morning. Where's mom? Where she went shopping?" or something like that, not, "Dad, where is mom? What happened to her?" And he told me, "Mom had a car crash and she's going to be okay." His friend was the main doctor on neurosurgery department. And he told him, I find out these things later, he told him that the situation is very bad and that he should prepare his family, because her skull was crushed in the base, all the ribs from left side, because the crash was into her left side. Her clavicular bone was crushed. She was in coma, but I didn't know that. But I told my father this. "You know that I know that mom is going to sleep for a while, but she's going to wake up and everything is going to be okay. She'll have some headaches for a while, but it will pass also, don't worry." And he was completely confused. He was an atheist. He didn't believe in any kind of institutionalized religion. But as he usually said, there is some kind of a higher power we cannot perceive. He knew that there is something above what the humans believe and think. He, as I do, he also thought that the religions are perfectly designed for mass control. And that is something I believe also. Because, for example, if you read the Bible and take only Jesus said two thoughts, then a sentence. If you put that on a paper, first, there is not much that Jesus said. But what he said is incredibly perfect and true. And I think it's mispronounced.
How did you get that information about your mother? Did she visit you in your
No,
dream?
it's
Was
a
it
kind of a download. I just know things. It's easier to define it as a download. I know things. I cannot explain how I know them, but I know them, and that's it. My close friends know these things because there are a lot of situations. For example, we were in a that were the crazy 90s during that war in Bosnia, and it was a total mess in the country. In every part, in every segment of society. And we went to the city, we went for a cafe. You know, we were teenagers at that moment, maybe 15, 16 years old. And in one moment, I just said, okay, let's go, leave your drink. We are going out now, now. And my now is my godfather, my very, very good friend, knew some things about me, because this is something I didn't speak with people who I don't know very well. Actually, even maybe three persons knew about this part of my inner being. And he knew that something is going to happen. And he just pulled the money from the wallet and put it on the table and tell the rest of the crew, okay, get out now. With his authoritative voice, get out now. 2 or 3 minutes, maybe. After we went out, there was a mass shooting inside, and there were dead people and wounded people. And it was some kind of a criminal thing happening. But I felt that something is going to happen, and I just said, we need to leave. I have a lot of these kind of experiences. Yeah. When I had my car accident, but it was something which was meant to be, and nobody could do anything to stop it. It was 1998, and I work as a consultant and a translator in a multinational company. It's a trading company. And where did I stop? Because I wanted to tell you a lot, and brain does it too fast. My ears cannot follow it. Yeah. So it was about the accident. I was at home, and I was getting ready for dinner because we had some business trip to Budva, to the coast of Montenegro, and we got back late. And it was a few days before the Catholic Christmas. And due to those people were Catholics, they went, they wanted to go to their home to be with their families. And one of them, who was Cuban, and he was a great cook. He made extremely good food. He made the dinner for all of us, but the two of us were at the business trip and got back later. We were late a little bit. And I felt that thing in my belly. It's what now I know how they call it. It's this kind of this chakra here. It's a yellow chakra, solar plexus. And I felt this strong feeling, and the incredible wind was blowing because we have extremely strong northern wind. And my mother, I was going to apartment up and down, left and right, and like a lion in a cage. And my mother asked me, Nevena, what is going on? And I just said, just let me be. Something awful is going to happen, and nobody can stop it. And she was confused and didn't say anything. I went out. My colleague was waiting in the car. And then we went we were trying to find the house that our colleague rented only a few days ago. So we didn't know the specific place, we needed to find it because it's a suburb of Podgorica. And a guy who's a taxi driver, it was almost midnight. He didn't have the lights turned on. He didn't even have, taxi sign at the top of the car, lighting. And it was just bam. I have a scar here. It cannot be seen. It looks like a wrinkle now, but it was like a finger, with these things which made around the scarves, I looked like that lady from Enterprise, from that trace, yeah. But I used some medical from it's natural medical. We have a guy here who makes this kind of things, and it helped a lot. It worked so good that a lot of doctors ask me, who did the plastic surgery? It's perfect. And in that moment, I knew that it was meant to be. And that's it. It's a programmed experience. Now I know it. Because there are several experiences, actually very hard experiences in my life, which I didn't want to happen, but they were happening all the time. And I was asking constantly, why is this happening to me again and again and again and again? Some 10 years ago, I found out the answer. Until you learn the lesson, the experience is going to round and round and round and again and again and again. When you learn the lesson, it stops. So I remembered a lot of things, some through my dreams, some out of my dreams, in a state of complete consciousness, Like last night when you asked me, did you see the pictures or you see my son in your mind? I saw him in my mind. He looks like his mother, incredibly looks like his mother. I don't know how I know it. I can explain it. I know theoretically.
After either one of your NDEs, did you get any new abilities that you didn't have before?
Well, actually, I have a lot of abilities since I was a kid, but I remember that I was maybe 2.5 years old, and I was at my granny's house in Serbia because my mother is from Serbia. And that woman had a headache. And my granny was making a coffee in another room in the kitchen, and we were sitting in a living room. And I went to the lady and I just started cuddling her, like this. And then I put my head like this. And after a few seconds, my granny came in. I pulled my hand down, and this woman was so scared. And she said to my granny, "So this kid put her arm on my head and the headache went away." And the kid, which is 2.5 years old, cannot process what is fear and what is. So I understood it as something what is not permitted. I thought that I did something wrong because I saw fear and confusion in her eyes, and also my grandmother was shocked. That's the time when I stopped blocking my natural gift. And now I'm gonna take a smoke.
Well, while you're doing that, I
Mm,
want to
good
ask you,
question.
I would,
Good question.
you mentioned earlier that you had a life purpose. Have you
Yes.
discovered what it is?
Yes.
What is it?
It is to help another people to understand what is happening to them. For example, I know that a person has some kind of illness. I know why that person has that kind of illness. Let me finish first the cigarette story. In a lot of experiences of other people, which I have watched on YouTube and read books about it, first read books about it, YouTube came later. There are a lot of people who are explaining tunnels, seeing Jesus or Mother Mary or saints or angels, or none of us has the same experience. And we have the purpose which is only ours. I'm doing this because this is who I am. I smoke. For example, a lot of them say that after they had some experience, they stopped eating meat, they stopped smoking or taking drugs or whatever. But that is their path. That's not my path. So I think that is very important for people to understand that they may have similar experiences like others, but it doesn't mean that that is theirs programmed path. Okay, did I make myself enough clear?
Yes. You spoke about that lessons come to us, and if we don't learn them, they keep coming back and back over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share with us some of your own personal lessons that kept repeating, and if you finally learned the lesson?
Um, For example, I'm a very empathetic person. And I was since I was a kid. You know, my empathy for people is enormous. And I was often feeling angry and disappointed why the people don't want to realize some things. But when I realized what is my path, I stopped being angry. In general, I am not a judgmental person. I never judge people. You know, for example, you can see a man who killed 50 people, for example. You can look at him as a person who did enormous amount of evil. But from the other side, you can perceive him as a very, very courage soul who chose very hard experiences for this incarnation. Because I do believe that we incarnate, that we use these bodies, you know, as a vehicle in our illusion of reality, because this is an illusion. Modern physics says it's an illusion now, you know. For example, 30 or 40 or 50 years ago, it was a mysticism, and now it's not, it's science. So you have those two kinds of people. The ones who like to mystify the things, and the ones who like to demystify the things. I'm the other kind. So when you called me to be a guest in your show, I said yes. But after that, I was being alone, of course, and I was thinking of it. And I asked myself, Nevena, why do you want to do that? Because you're not a type who wants self-promotion. You don't need the encouragement of other people. Why are you doing this? And the answer came. You know, when you have the right question, the answer will come. And it came. I live in Balkan. In Balkan, the people have a specific kind of mentality, and they are in some kind of cage because of that kind of mentality, religious dogmas, social rules. How I know that? For example, for some time, I speak freely and openly about a lot of my experiences. And after that, a lot of people call me by phone and say, you know, I have to say something to you. I never said it to anyone. It happened like that, for, you know, from out of body experiences to seeing aliens, etc., etc. So there are a lot of people who need to be encouraged to speak freely about their inner world, and they shouldn't care that much. I should say that they shouldn't care at all what the other people think of it. That's a big problem in Balkan, because everyone's everybody wants the approval from the majority. As Krishnamurti said, to be adapted in a completely sick society is not a merge of health.
Have your memories of these NDEs faded?
No. I remember every single detail. I would never forget. I can never forget that, because these things happened for me just to remember who I am and what is my purpose. And I remembered. After the second one, when I saw my father, I stopped doing some things. For example, I stopped explaining things to people who cannot understand some things. Then I realized why Jesus said in Bible, don't put the pearls in front of the pigs. He didn't want to insult anybody. He just wanted to say, people, don't waste your energy and your time to the ones who are not in a state of consciousness that can understand this kind of things. So I stopped, giving my energy just like that. But I'm very open if someone asks for help.
What inspires you about your NDEs?
What inspires me about my NDE? I got a lot of downloads about the universe functioning. There are two major principles of the universe, and it's the universal truth. The first one is universal love as the main creative principle. Because when we say love, we mean a love in a so small sense, a love to our children, to our spouse or friends. And when you understand that this lighter, this stone or crystal of mine, you, me, this plant, you cannot see it, but the phone is, on the plant, that we are the part of the same creation. And you love it. When you love all the people, no matter what they have done. As I told you, we can perceive a person who murdered 100,000 people as a mass murderer. And of course, it is all right to take that person out of society and put him in a prison, but don't judge him. Who are you to judge him? Because you don't know anything about that person. And you can perceive him as a very, very courage soul who programmed very, very hard experiences for this incarnation. When you realize these things, you stop being angry to people, stop being judgmental if you were. And if you were, you are less and less and less and less judgmental. And the other great principle of the universe is free will. The free will is a principle who works in our illusion of reality. But at the same time, the principle of free will is a rule which applies to every dimension, for every universe, for every dimension. The concept of free will is a rule. It's a cosmic rule. It's a rule of the creator. We cannot perceive a creator. It is something much bigger than we can imagine. And it is not meant to be in this dimension to know everything, because we are on our path of conscious rising. The things I know, you know also. There are no chosen ones. All the people are equal. Every single being has a potential. It only depends on what are you going to focus on. If you focus on material world, you will get material things. You know a lot of people who have a lot of money, but they are not happy. Is it true? Something is missing. The point is that you shouldn't focus on the outer. You should focus on the internal. And when you focus to the internal, you will understand the external. Because we are made of, I should say, three main parts. That is our soul. Then there is consciousness. And then there is mind with ego. It's only a machine who allows us to function in our illusion of reality.
Do you fear death at all?
Do I fear death? No, I can't wait to go home. But I have obligations. You know, I have two children. My daughter is almost 19 and my son is almost 16. And they deserve to have a healthy, smiley mama. So it is not my time yet. But this in here is a game, and that what we call up is home. That is the inner feeling I have. That's download.
Do you think there's an end to reincarnating?
Yes. It depends of the soul. Nobody is pushing you to do something you don't want. All the experiences we program by ourselves. Nobody else programs it for us. For example, you can have guardian angels or just guardians, call them whatever. The point is the same. They can help you only in some part that you know, just helping, but not pushing. You must do that. No, you don't. As I said, the concept of free will works in here and in other dimensions and in other realities and in multiverse, because there is not a universe, there is a multiverse. The greatest thing I understood from my whole path till now is that we need to perceive two major things. The one is infinity is the hardest for the people. If everything is infinite, then just logically, there are infinite of you and me. There are infinite universes, dimensions, experiences, etc., etc. There is a universal database that is popularly called Akasha record. That is universal database. And every being, it doesn't matter if it is human or not, can connect to that database. It only depends of what you want. It's not that complicated that people think. You know, I think the religions did a great job with putting some things aside. For example, one historical fact. All the ancient people, which had no geographically touching points, knew the same things. And they all knew about the reincarnation. It was never questionable. The time when it stopped, only the East, the Far East, didn't cut that part. The whole Western world it's the Christianity and Islam. There was a famous, it's a kind of a meeting. There is a specific term for that, but I don't know it in English. And they were trying to make an agreement how they are going to represent the religious dogma to the people. They couldn't agree. The one voice said, no, the soul lives only once. Equal, you have only one chance. Equal, the bigger fear. Equal, the better mass control. The name of that guy was Emperor Constantine. He was a Byzantine Emperor Constantine. And he was a wise guy. unfortunately for us, for the rest of the world. For example, at this point of time, 3/4 of our planet knows about the reincarnation. Only the Western world has a problem with that. And it is explained in a lot of old books.
What?
But the religion did what it did. I don't want to offend anyone's beliefs. Everyone has the right to believe in whatever they want, but this is a historical fact.
If you had a friend that was suffering because one of their loved ones had died, what kind of advice would you give them?
First of all, I would explain what I have experienced. Secondly, behind every fear that a human being has stands the fear of death, the fear of unknown. When that fear disappears, all the other fears disappear instantly. And that is not someone which global elite would like.
Is there anything during your near-death experiences that you found to be shocking or surprising?
Shocking or surprising? Well, it's that feeling that I know all these things. I was just needed to be reminded of. The all knowledge is inside of us. It's like a memory. For example, you study something and you forget some parts, but there is a methodology. How can you start your memory again? Same with this. I think the additives from the food, especially fluor, what is the term in English?
You mean fluoride?
Fluoride, correct. Then nitrates and nitrates, the salts of, it's an acid called, the N is the mark, just a second.
It's used for deli meat, nitrates.
Nitric acid. They are all derivatives of nitric acid. And the people don't know that these substances are in a top 20 cancerogen substances that humanity knows at this point of time. So when you want to eat, some meat, what is processed, industrially processed, think twice. Because it's bigger, I'm smoking. These things are bigger poisons than this.
Nevena, after watching this podcast, people may want to ask you questions.
Mm-hmm.
Are you open to that?
Of course, that's my purpose, to help people to understand themselves and to help them to find the way to find their path, especially regarding the healing and the consciousness expand.
What's the best way for them to contact you?
Well, I'm not kind of a, Facebook type or Instagram type, but I have my profile on Facebook. Uh, it has my birth surname, so it's Nevena Vujović, Blagojevich. Just let me write it down, please.
If you like, I can put a link to it in the video description.
Yes, you can. So it's Nevena, you know my name, but the surname is my birth surname. So it's Blagojevich. C with a little mark, because it's a Slavic language.
Nevena, before we finish up, can you give us one last positive message?
Believe in yourself. Don't let anybody to tell you that you are on the wrong path. Put aside all the social norms, religious beliefs. Try to be open-minded, because it's the only way that you can get the information you need. Because if you are closed to another realities, another dimensions who are contacting us all the time in a lot of different ways, you will don't have the message. It usually happens by the numbers. Then I strongly suggest people to read about Nikola Tesla. That was a great mind. He wasn't only a scientist, he was a highly spiritual being. And he knew that we'll have problems in the future because of what we are doing. And unfortunately, he was right. And the things he said that they are going to happen are happening right now. Yeah, it's a great guy. It's the only person from our history who I would like to meet in person. He was incredible. He is incredible. I don't like to use past tense.
Nevena, thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest.
Thank you, Jeff. It was my pleasure. And it's very important for me because I want to help my people and the people from Balkan to put away those cages they're in, to express themselves freely, no matter what is someone going to say about it. Just keep in mind that you have your own path and don't care about what the other people think of it, because it's a great barrier. That is something what is stopping your progress. This is my personal experience, because for a long time, I didn't want to speak about some things, because I, as every human being, wanted to be accepted in society. But as Krishnamurti said, I already told you that, to be very well, in that kind of sick society, it's not a measure of health. There are a lot of great guys, and we opened a lot of topics So I hope that this is not our last show.
Well, I hope our paths will cross again. And Nevena, thank you so much. And I wish you a great rest of your evening over there in Montenegro.
Yeah. I wish you a great life because you deserve it. And you work very hard to get to some things you want. And your pet is also amazing and unusual. From kids shows to something completely different, it says a lot about you. You know, somewhere deeply in your inner being, your intuition told you that you should do that. And you have one great luck in your life. You met Mara.
You're right.
So kisses for her. She's an amazing woman. Her courage is incredible. And she's an excellent mom. And she's a real partner.
You're right. Nevena, thank you again and good night.
Good night.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.